They hid this from you for years, but now it's been revealed. A sacred relic, shrouded in ancient secrets, has finally come to light, and what it contains could shake the foundations of faith, history, and science. Hidden documents, stored in underground vaults in the Vatican, reveal the secret of this forbidden artifact, whose existence has been denied for centuries. But why so much silence? Why so much protection surrounding a simple object? Or is it not that simple? What you are about to discover has been kept from the public eye by direct orders from the highest religious authority on the planet. This relic, shrouded in mystery and controversy, appeared in ancient records that were censored, restricted, and long considered. Nothing more than legend. But a new archaeological discovery has revealed more than just pieces of stone or metal. It has revealed a secret that could rewrite the past and change everything we know about the spiritual power hidden within the earth. Rare images began to circulate, and experts in sacred history, theology, and symbolism were shocked, because what was found, according to them, should not exist. A physical proof of something described in apocryphal texts, a hand-engraved symbol identical to that mentioned in passages that were deliberately removed from official scripture. The Vatican knew, for centuries, and chose silence. But now, that veil of darkness is being torn away, and while some try to disbelieve, others acknowledge this is no coincidence. It is a revelation, and perhaps the greatest of all. Internal reports from reliable and anonymous sources linked to religious institutions state that this relic was known as the Key to Heaven, an artifact with symbolic powers and, according to ancient manuscripts, a direct link to entities described as heavenly messengers. The religious elite kept it protected, not out of superstition, but out of fear. Fear of what might be discovered, fear of what it would mean for humanity. Because if this relic is true, if it really does originate from the time when angels walked among us, then everything changes. The official story crumbles, and what has been taught for generations becomes a carefully crafted narrative to hide the truth. Brace yourself. What will be revealed in the next few minutes is not in the books. It is not in the sermons, and it has been deliberately erased from the public record. But now, even under resistance, came to light. And the scariest thing? This is just the beginning. A sacred piece that should not have been in the public eye, until now. What seemed like just another legend hidden in the cellars of history has resurfaced in one of the church's most obscure archives, and now it's before our very eyes. The relic, made of a material that has not yet been identified by scientists, was found beneath the ruins of an ancient abbey in the Italian countryside during an excavation that should never have been authorized. According to documents that were not officially catalogued, this abbey had been abruptly closed in the 14th century after reports of unexplained phenomena involving monks who swore they had witnessed a light that spoke. This same place was sealed off by direct order of the Holy See, and all the contents stored there were taken in absolute secrecy to the Vatican's underground vaults, a labyrinth of tunnels and hidden archives that rarely see the light of day. The piece, a sort of stone box with inscriptions in an indecipherable language, was sealed with wax seals containing symbols never seen in conventional religious texts. Beside it, fragments of aged papyrus bore representations of winged figures described as the messengers of silence. These images coincide disturbingly with accounts recorded in banned manuscripts, documents that speak of entities coming from the stars, beings considered divine, who would have delivered messages to the first guardians of the faith. And it is precisely because it contains this possible visual and physical evidence of a connection between religion and extraterrestrial life that this relic was so rigorously hidden. The most impressive thing is that its contents could only be revealed thanks to an internal leak. A former member of the Vatican's secret library, who, in his final days of life, decided to share with the world what he saw and swore to protect. He described this relic as the gateway between what is permitted to be believed and what should never be revealed. And the question that has echoed ever since is, if this has come to light, what else is being hidden in the dark corridors where knowledge is locked away? Documents show that the Vatican knew about its existence as early as the 13th century. Yes, this mysterious relic is not a recent discovery. It is part of an enigma that has been carefully hidden for over 700 years. Unofficial records reveal that the piece was first discovered during an expedition sent secretly by the Church to investigate phenomena considered heretical in Eastern Europe. The artifact was immediately labeled as dangerous, not because it contained something demonic, as was speculated at the time, but because what was engraved on it directly contradicted the official narrative of the faith. It did not fit into any doctrine, neither scripture nor tradition. It was as if someone, or something, wanted to leave a message beyond time, outside the controlled reality that we know. To ensure absolute silence, the object was removed under escort and transported to an ecclesiastical quarantine area, a place that few know exists, the so-called Black Zone, an underground wing of the Vatican's secret archives. There, it was locked in a stone cell, wrapped in layers of lead and protected by sealing rituals that only the cardinal inquisitors of the time were aware of. All those involved in its removal were sworn under a vow of perpetual silence, and mysteriously, many of them disappeared in the following years. Coincidence? Or a strategy to ensure that the relic would be forgotten even by those who touched it? Over the centuries, only 4 popes have been authorized to access the relic. And they have all maintained the same pattern: absolute secrecy, no public records, and continuous reinforcement of containment measures. The reason? Leaked sources claim that part of the content engraved on the artifact reveals dates, stellar symbols, and references to doors of light, concepts that, if disclosed, could call into question the origin of ancient dogmas. These same symbols have been found in other ancient cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, which raises a disturbing question. Were all these peoples connected by a single unknown source, deliberately erased from official history? There are records that say, at the end of time, the truth will be revealed. And it is precisely this phrase that appears, almost word for word, engraved on one of the hidden sides of the relic, written in an ancient calligraphy, with features similar to Aramaic, but with variations that still challenge linguists today. This detail is frightening, because it is also present in apocryphal texts kept outside the canonical scriptures, documents such as the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, which speak clearly of sealed messages for the end of time and of light-bearers who would descend from heaven when men were ready to see. These same texts were deliberately excluded from the Bible because they contained truths considered too dangerous for the stability of traditional faith. And now, when we compare their words with the symbols on the relic, the similarity does not seem accidental. Some scholars suggest that the discovered piece bears marks that refer to the so-called light, boards described in 4th century Coptic prophecies as celestial objects that would contain codes of humanity's divine origin. These prophecies said that when men try to understand the stars without listening to the heart of the earth, the guardians of truth will manifest themselves. The connection with the relic goes beyond language. It brings images similar to the visions described in the Apocalypse, where beings with faces like lightning and eyes like flames are sent to bring the final revelation. This coincidence of symbols and passages between separate cultures and forgotten texts cannot be ignored. What if the most disturbing thing is that this piece was created, not by human hands, but left intentionally as a sign for the future? Because there is an inscription on the base of the relic that, translated by a group of theologians and physicists specialized in esoteric symbology, says something disturbing. Those who see will hear. Those who hear will remember. And then, Truth will rise under the broken heavens. In 2024, an archaeologist broke his silence, and what he revealed left the world in shock. His name was kept secret for months for obvious reasons: veiled threats, silent persecution, and invisible pressure from institutions that, officially, do not even acknowledge the existence of the Relic. But he decided to speak out. He showed up at a scientific conference in Vienna as a last-minute guest and carried with him a small, reinforced safe, sealed with 3 layers of security and an ancient seal that was only later identified as belonging to the 15th century papal guard. When he opened the safe, the room was completely silent. Inside, the relic lay intact, still wrapped in the same sacred cloth with inscriptions that are only now beginning to be deciphered. He explained in front of dozens of experts and curious onlookers that this piece was given to him by a former Vatican employee in his final days of life. This man, described as the guardian of what could never be told, said he had hidden the relic during an unauthorized restoration in a forgotten wing of the secret library. The intention was that one day, someone brave enough would be able to show the world what had always been kept in the shadows. And that moment had finally arrived. The first images were released by independent channels, as no major broadcaster agreed to broadcast them. And the reactions were immediate. Skeptics tried to discredit them. Religious people were divided between denial and astonishment, and scholars began a frantic race to interpret the signs and symbols contained on the surface of the object. The artifact, now in custody at a high-security private laboratory in Geneva, emitted a low-frequency sound when exposed to open air, a sound that some have called an ancient chant, and that curiously matches sound recordings found in Himalayan monasteries, where monks were said to hear the voices of heaven in their deepest meditations. Coincidence? Or proof that this relic does indeed emit an energy that transcends material? Initial tests have shown that the object does not oxidize, shows no signs of wear and tear, and responds to ultraviolet light stimuli with dynamic geometric patterns that move as if they were alive. This is not just an ancient artifact, it is a device, a key, perhaps even a transmitter of something we are only now beginning to understand. The Vatican declined to comment. Scientists, however, are divided. The Holy See, when contacted by several media outlets and independent researchers, remained completely silent, limiting itself to issuing a vague statement about unfounded rumors related to artifacts without proven authenticity. But behind the scenes, what is circulating among theologians and experts in religious symbolism is something completely different. Internal meetings are being held in a hurry, documents are being urgently reviewed, and old files are being scrutinized again. An anonymous leak, coming from within an archive of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, revealed that the Vatican has a dossier with more than 400 pages on this object, titled Relic 9X, with descriptions that include potential connection with non-human entities, incompatibility with official doctrine, and a terrifying phrase: should this artifact become public, review eschatological implications. Meanwhile, the scientific community is experiencing a historic split. On the one hand, theoretical physicists and quantum experts claim that the object cannot be classified based on our current understanding of matter. According to Dr. Helmut Graf of the European Institute of Frequency Energy, the artifact emits patterns of sound and light that behave like coded data in 3 dimensions, as if they were a living language, constructed to be interpreted by something other than humans. Other, more conservative, researchers accuse enthusiasts of being carried away by sensationalism. But even these skeptics cannot explain why, when exposed to the object, magnetic sensors and precision gyroscopes begin to register anomalous fluctuations, as if they were in contact with an invisible force field. In a leaked article from a scientific journal that was mysteriously taken down days after it was posted, one of the paragraphs read, The object we analyzed is not a fossil nor a religious sculpture. It is functional, reacts to its environment, changes frequencies, and seems to respond to human presence in ways that are not yet understood. This excerpt was quickly shared by thousands of users, but most of the original links were deleted. Digital censorship intensified after this leak, which only increased public interest and caused independent outlets to delve even deeper into this investigation. Because when science and religion come into conflict, it is a sign that the truth is trying to emerge from a place where it should never have been buried. Some say it came from the sky. Others say it was made to deceive. But when we come across something so ancient, so enigmatic, and at the same time so technologically complex, it is difficult to accept any simple explanation. Some say that this relic is an ancient artifact from a forgotten civilization, a civilization that may not even be on this planet. Theorists point out that the inscriptions and geometric patterns that appear under ultraviolet light resemble the designs found in places like Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, and even in some formations in Antarctica, where, according to reports leaked by the military, structures buried millennia ago were discovered but never revealed to the public. The shape of the relic, with its perfectly symmetrical lines and surface that repels dust and moisture, resembles what we are only now beginning to understand as nanotechnology. And the big question is, how could something like this have been carved by hand in the 13th century or earlier? On the other hand, skeptics claim that we are faced with a well-crafted hoax, perhaps created by some group interested in fomenting conspiracy theories or manipulating the spirituality of the masses. However, even the most critical recognize that, to date, no one has been able to faithfully reproduce the composition of the material, nor explain why the symbols change subtly when observed from different angles, as if they were alive or interactive. Experts in lost languages claim that the characters present in the relic share traits with Sumerian dialects and Proto-Egyptian languages, which raises an even more disturbing possibility. What if it is not an isolated artifact, but a fragment of a much larger set, scattered and hidden throughout the world? There are also those who believe that this piece is actually a code, not just a religious or symbolic object, but a kind of instruction capsule left purposely to be discovered when humanity reached a certain level of understanding. This type of theory has been fueled by similar accounts throughout history, from the Dropa discs to the Sumerian tablets that speak of the Anunnaki. All of these elements, when connected, paint a picture in which this relic is not a mistake nor a fraud, but part of a much larger plan that was interrupted, silenced, and now seems to be trying to complete itself again through us. What if the truth has always been before our eyes? What if what we call legend, myth, or even blasphemy is actually a lost fragment of who we are, where we come from, and what we are destined to discover? The relic does not only speak of a forgotten past, it speaks of the present. Because its appearance in the 21st century, at a time when humanity is experiencing a crisis of spiritual, ethical, and existential identity, cannot be a mere coincidence. There is a collective restlessness in the air, a silent call that crosses cultures, religions, borders, and even generations. And this object, loaded with symbols, sounds, and cosmic patterns, seems to have been made to activate something dormant within us. Perhaps it is not just a relic, but a reminder that humanity, behind all its technology, is still searching for answers that no machine can provide. The way it responds to human presence, as if recognizing intentions, as if responding to touch, to the frequency of a voice, or even to thought, suggests that we are dealing with an artifact that operates in a realm beyond matter, a realm that many would call consciousness, soul, or spirit. And when we look at it through the eyes of philosophy, theology, and quantum science, we realize that maybe, just maybe, the separation between the divine and the scientific never really existed. In the words of Tibetan monk Tsering Dolma, who analyzed images of the relic and recognized symbols used in ancient devotional chants that have been lost. Those who walk in silence recognize the echo of truth even before it is spoken. He said the relic's central pattern is reminiscent of the Eye of Heaven mandala, a spiritual concept that represents the union between the mind of the universe and the heart of the earth. If this is true, then what we have before us is not just a sacred object. It is a link between worlds, a bridge that can lead us back to something we have forgotten. For when ancient symbols, cosmic sounds, and conscious responses come together in a single artifact, it is as if the universe is trying to remind us of something essential, something that was long ago ripped from our collective memory and is now slowly beginning to return. If this has been revealed now, what is still locked away? This is the question that haunts the minds of everyone who comes across the relic. Because if a piece with this degree of mystery, energy, and symbolism was kept hidden for centuries, what else could be hidden behind the steel and stone doors of the Vatican's confidential archives? There are unconfirmed reports that at least 7 other artifacts, similar in shape and vibrational frequency, were catalogued between 1938 and 1971, all classified as inadmissible to the lay public, because they contain elements that, according to the internal documents themselves, would challenge the collective understanding of the nature of the soul, human origin, and extraterrestrial entities. An image discreetly leaked in 2019 shows one of the sealed-off underground corridors of the secret archive with a huge metal door marked with a Roman numeral 7 and a screen. Above the door, engraved on the wall in letters almost erased by time, we can read in Latin: "Not all truth must be told. Not every truth should be told. What is behind this door? What truths are we being deprived of? And most importantly, why?" Some scholars believe that these compartments hide visual records of direct contact with non-human intelligences. Others claim that there are documents proving that certain biblical passages are symbolic reinterpretations of real cosmic events, witnessed by our ancestors. And there are still those who say that the Church has kept, in absolute secrecy, records of star maps that were delivered by entities during communication rituals considered heretical in the Middle Ages. The coincidences are beginning to multiply. Symbols found on the newly revealed relic match inscriptions engraved in caves in the Caucasus Mountains, in rock art in South America, and in Jewish ossuaries hidden in the Judean desert. How is it possible that civilizations so distant from one another used the same visual codes, the same harmonic patterns, and spoke of the same entities coming from heaven in chariots of fire? What was once dismissed as myth or superstition is now beginning to take on real, tangible, measurable contours. But perhaps the most disturbing part is yet to come. Because if this relic was just the first piece of a larger puzzle, a key that opened the first lock, then it is not unreasonable to think that there is more, much more, still hidden, waiting for the right moment to emerge from the darkness where it was placed by hands sworn to protect or silence. Can you believe that the Vatican hides more secrets like this? Because if this relic has been kept silent for so many centuries, with so many efforts to forget it, imagine what else might be locked away, far from our eyes. We are faced with something that could be just the tip of an iceberg buried under layers of rewritten history, erased documents, and sealed archives. The question that remains is, are we prepared to discover everything that has been hidden? Because the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, forbidden, or mysterious it may be, always finds a way to come to light. And maybe, just maybe, we are living the beginning of that revelation. If you've come this far, it's because you're looking for more than just easy answers. You want the truth. So subscribe to the channel now, because in the next videos, we'll reveal another forgotten relic, an even more enigmatic piece that could prove the existence of celestial beings. Leave your like so that more people have access to this hidden content, and comment below. I want to know the truth. That's the key word that unites our community. And of course, watch the next video that's appearing on your screen right now. It's the direct continuation of this investigation, and it holds a revelation that you need to know.